Hey guys, welcome back to BonBon's Acceptance. I'm guessing the first day didn't go well because apparently chapter 5, I think it is. I'm not quite sure on how to count these anymore. Because apparently like when it's part 2, 3, that's apparently one chapter, or like relationship questions, that's one chapter technically, but that's not how it is set up. So that's not how I'm gonna set it up myself. So shall I push, but this is how I do want to do it. Okay. Anyways, this is part 2. Gifts for BonBon. Date night. I love this. Alright. Alright, let's hop right into it, Dusty trotted up to the wall of crystal beads and parted a group of them with her hoof, revealing a small rounded room with their table in the center. Feliz and Jessica, Dusty announced, winking in Chris's direction. Your table awaits. Chris entered first. She signed heavily with Lyra and BonBon following close behind. Once inside, BonBon looked over the room they would be dining in, noticing their table had a silky white cloth draped over it, similar to all the other tables in the establishment. The table itself was round in shape and was just big enough for four ponies to sit around, but there was only a set of 3 chairs and white plates. Each plate had what looked like a red napkin set next to it as well. BonBon quickly noticed that each of the napkin sets had a gold ring in the middle that held them together. There was no doubt that silverware was wrapped in napkins. She cringed a little seeing the gold rings. It was always a little difficult for her to get those things off when she went to these kinds of things, but she would manage. BonBon was about to take her seat, but the tall human stepped behind the chair she was heading for and moved it away from the table, giving her a bright smile as he waited for something. She wasn't really sure what he was doing with her chair, but she figured he wanted to sit there, so she turned around and made her way to a different spot before Lyra stopped her, placing a hoof on her chest. Bonnie, he wants you to sit in that seat, Lyra explained with an encouraging smile. What? BonBon asked, feeling confused and a little frightened. She looked back to the human, who was giving her a downhearted look, then turned her head back to Lyra. Then why is he holding the chair out? I thought he wanted to sit there, she whispered to her friend, not wanting the human to overhear them. Lyra giggled softly. He does it for me all the time, she reassured her in a soothing tone. It's a custom from his world. The stallions there like to pull the seats out for their mares to help them sit down. It's a romantic gesture for him, she explained happily. BonBon swallowed the nervous lump that was caught in her throat. Really? She asked, looking back slightly to see the human was still waiting for her. Yeah, go on. It's kind of nice. You'll see. Oh, okay. BonBon whispered nervously as she turned and started to slowly make her way to the seat that was being held out for her, trying to muster the best smile she could. Damn. The human started to smile again as she approached. Your chair, my lady, he said in a strange accent. BonBon stopped just in front of the chair, giving it an unsure look. She took a deep breath and exhaled slowly before awkwardly climbing up on the seat, being careful to avoid touching the human's hand that was holding the back edge of the chair. When she was up, she turned herself around and sat back on her haunches. Immediately after that, her chair started to slowly move forward into the table, causing her to squeak in surprise. When she realized that the human had just pushed her in, she calmed herself a little before responding shyly. Thank you. Lyra was right in, though. It was kind of nice to be pushed in like that. It made her feel special. Lyra held a hoof to her lips, trying to hold back from laughing to her friend's expense. She waited on the other side of the table of the human to help her with her seat. Once he pulled it out, she quickly hopped on and sat down as the bipedal stallion pushed her in. Thanks, love, Lyra cooed, leaning her head up to give her cult friend a quick, loving kiss, which she returned before taking the seat next to her. That was the closest to the entryway. He then placed the black box he was still holding on the table in front of him. Dusty smirked slightly, raising a questioning eyebrow after having witnessed all this. It's going to take you guys forever to sit down when you bring a 3rd or 4th mare into your herd, she teased, causing Chris to almost fall out of his seat. Lyra busted out in laughter. Even BonBon started to smile and chuckle softly. Chris was not as amused. Yeah, laugh it up, you two, he huffed in mock annoyance. Dusty chuckled lightly before batting the menus out from under her wing, then proceeded to hoof them out individually. Once every pony had a menu, she flew up and hovered next to the table, clearing her throat slightly. Well, I hope you guys enjoy your meals tonight. I would recommend that you try our fried tofu with it's one of our more popular items among all our pony customers. I haven't tried it myself, but I hear really good things. Lyra perked her ears up a little at that suggestion. Oh, that does sound good. I might have to try that tonight, she mused. Well, I know Amber will be wanting to personally serve you guys tonight, so she'll be happy to take your orders. Would you 3 like me to get you some drinks while you wait? Dusty asked kindly. Chris raised his hand. What? Chris ran. I am out of practice for this shit. Chris raised his hand slightly, grabbing Dusty's attention. Yeah, actually, would you be so kind to bring us the best hard cider you have for the table? He asked. Oh, somebody wants to spoil these two lovely mares tonight, I see. Dusty chuckled, which caused BonBon to blush brightly and sink down into her seat a little. I will be happy to get that for you. Can I get any waters for the table as well? BonBon sat up in her seat before answering Dusty's question. Yes, please. I'll have a water with my cider, she answered softly. You got it, ma'am, Dusty confirmed, giving a little salute. You three sit tight while I get those drinks, and Ember should be around shortly to take your orders. With that, she flew out of the room, pushing the crystal beads aside and leaving the trio to themselves. BonBon started to nervously fidget with her hooves under the table. She looked up to see both Lyra and the human were looking at her with wide smiles, making her feel even more nervous. She gave them both a small, sheepish smile, but she quickly opened the menu in front of her, biting the edge of her mouth and unfolding it, attempting to avoid the attention that was now on her. Chris looked towards Lyra, giving her a concerned look, but she just smiled and shrugged while using her magic to pick up her own menu. Yeah, she's nervous as fuck. Like, she doesn't want it to go well, which I don't understand. Like, break out of tradition, please, because, you know, fucking Chris over here had to do that. He had to. He had no choice. He had to. Even though, like, right now he's just doing this to make Lyra happy. So he's breaking out of his monogamy norm. So, you know, that's just for him. Chris sighed to himself, picking up the menu in front of him. Every few moon had very few choices for meals with me in them, but there was one dish that he already knew was good, and he figured he would go with that tonight. Having made up his mind, he sat the menu down as he waited for the two mares to make up their minds. With little else to do, Chris looked back at the black box that was on the table, which made him start to feel nervous again. The gift he had gotten BonBon was something that he feared she might not like. It was a hard gift to obtain, and a simple one at that, but he had done his research, and Baby Punch told him that the Earth Pony would really like it. She had explained that the item was something important from BonBon's past, and when she explained it why, he knew that that was the gift he had to get for BonBon. No matter what, he wanted to show her that he really cared and wanted to give this herd thing a shot. He just hoped that the slightly inebriated mare was right about everything she had told him. I don't think so. I don't trust Berry Punch right now. I don't know why. But I would trust Lyra more about BonBon than... I would trust Lyra that knows more about BonBon than anyone else, to be honest. Chris, so you should have just asked your girlfriend about her. But alright, whichever way you want to go. Chris cleared his throat slightly before turning his attention to BonBon. So, BonBon, he called her, causing the Earth Pony to let out an adorable squeak before she slowly turned to look at him. Have you decided on what you're getting? He asked gently with a friendly smile, causing Lyra to peer over the edge of her menu to watch the two as their conversation began to unfold. BonBon looked away for a second, biting her lip a little before turning back to Chris. I wanted to get the carrot soup. She finally answered softly, obviously still feeling uncomfortable with him. Ha! Told you! Lyra chimed in, dropping her menu down while smirking triumphantly at Chris. This seemed to confuse BonBon. She darted her head back and forth between the two, expecting some kind of explanation. Chris chuckled softly before explaining, Lyra told me that you always loved to order the carrot soup when you went out to places like this, but I didn't believe her, he said in a friendly tone. That's right, sucker. I know my Bonnie, now pay up. There was a bet, Lyra added. I know my Bonnie. Now pay up, Lyra added, holding out her hoof expectantly. Chris huffed as he pulled out a small bit from his pants pocket. He placed it on Lyra's hoofs, which she quickly snatched up and stuffed in the front of her dress. BonBon watched it too as they interacted with each other, causing her to place a hoof over her lips so she could hide her smile and soft giggles from them. Chris saw this and started to feel like they were making some good progress with their date. It seemed like BonBon was actually enjoying herself. So I take it you're a fan of carrots, he asked, trying to keep the conversation glowing. However, BonBon's smile started to slowly fade. It seemed like she still wasn't comfortable talking to him for some reason. Get used to it, you bitch. Oh, yes, BonBon answered with a light bashful nod, putting her hoof back down under the table. Well, I'm pretty big of fans of carrots myself, I think. In fact, back when I was living in Mountwood, I was a little overweight, so I tried almost every diet imaginable to slim down. Lyra's ears perked up a little at Chris's words. I remember that. You used to be all chubby when you first got here, she interrupted loudly when she made Chris wince a little. You look so cute with that little belly. You should get fat again. I bet you would be so cuddly, she added excitedly, hugging herself with her forelegs to demonstrate how she would cuddle her plumper coat friend. Chris sighed and said, I will not destroy my health for your amusement, he retorted dryly, scowling a little at Lyra. Ah, killjoy, Lyra pouted as she playfully shoved him with a hoof. Chris laughed and lightly shoved her back, then turned his attention back to BonBon. She was surprisingly smiling once again, which made him smile as well. Well, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, Chris continued giving Lyra an accusing stare, and she responded to by sticking her tongue out at him. I used to do a lot of different diets, and one of them was an all-carrot diet. This seemed to catch BonBon's attention a little as she pricked her right ear up slightly. Chris mentally cheered to himself, thinking that he was finally getting BonBon to come out. Well, basically, I would eat nothing but carrots for several weeks straight. It was great at first, but you can eat only so many carrots before you start to get sick with them. And sadly, I stopped halfway through the diet, so I didn't lose any weight, he said a little before continuing. But I did learn a lot of good carrot recipes from that experience. So if you like, I could give you a few of them that I think you'd really enjoy, he said with a bright and genuine smile as he looked into BonBon's eyes. Come on, he's being like down to earth with you. Basically how every guy should be with a girl, but you know, somehow that doesn't work out, and sometimes people get the worst kinds of people. I don't understand it. People are idiots, you know. Okay. BonBon blinked a few times before looking away slightly, not wanting to keep eye contact with the human. The idea of an all-carrot diet was actually pretty fascinating. She wanted to ask more about it and wondered what a human recipe for carrots would be like. Perhaps she would even try the same diet herself if it would work for her. She felt like she could lose a little weight. Working in a sweet shop all day made it hard to resist the temptation to mindlessly snack on sugary confections, and her flings had to pay the price. BonBon was about to ask more about his diet, but quickly stopped herself when she realized what she was about to do. She shouldn't be trying to lead him on too much and get his hopes up when she knew things wouldn't work out between them, but she had to answer him with something. What the? You're such a bitch. That is interesting, but I have plenty of carrot recipes at home, so there's no need, but thank you, she stammered regrettably with a small smile before turning her head away from him. It made her feel terrible that she did that, but she had to. It seemed like the human was about to say more about. Much to BonBon's relief, another bat pony mare entered their private room carrying in a tray with their drink orders on her back, interrupting the human. BonBon looked up to see who the new bat pony was. She looked a lot older than Dusty, but by a few decades at least. Her coat was dark gray in color, and her long maroon-colored mane flowed freely down the right side of her face, covering one of her light blue eyes completely. When BonBon looked down at her flank, she could see a small charcoal-colored rock with red, yellow, and orange flames coming from it that made the shape of a heart for a cute mark. It seemed like a really unusual mark for a bat pony to have. It's so lovely to see you two again, the older bat pony cheered brightly as she trotted up to the trio, carefully sliding the tray with their drink orders onto the table with her ring. The tray held a large bottle of hard cider that had a simple red label with gold foreign text written on it that BonBon couldn't recognize. There were 3 empty cider glasses and a full glass of water next to the bottles as well. My little Stardust told me you had finally arrived and I simply had to rush over, she chimed with a soft smile. Hey, Ember, Lyra greeted, waving a hoof in the air. Well, hello, Miss Heartstrings, Ember chuckled warmly. I was so thrilled when I saw your name in the books with a reservation for 3. I simply had to stop by and see who the lucky addition was. And I must say you two have quite the eye for beauty, Ember stated sweetly, giving BonBon a wink, causing the Earth Pony to blush brightly and slump her head down slightly. Chris scratched his beard and thought, not sure what to really think of Ember's obsession with him and Lyra. You seem quite infatuated with us. I hate to be rude, but can I ask why? Oh, I mean, no offense, dear. I assure you, I just simply adore a love that is pure and unique as the one you share for your mare friend. Ember explained warmly, smiling in Lyra's direction. You see, I was once part of something very special, just like what you two share, and I understand how difficult it can be when you love somebody that isn't of your own kind, which is part of the reason why I started this restaurant shortly after retiring from the Royal Guard. I wanted to create a friendly place where friends and lovers such as yourselves could come and indulge in each other's company and still be able to enjoy a wonderful meal. This answer helped Chris to understand why she seemed to take special interest in him and Lyra a little more, but something about what she said bothered him. Do you say that you were once part of something like this? Are you no longer with your special some ponies now? He asked, wondering if her relationship didn't quite work out in the end. Ember's smile started to fade slightly. She paused, looking away from the trio for a moment, as if remembering older times, returning back to answer Chris's question. Well, you see, my dear, my loves are sadly no longer with us. Lyra covered her lips with her hooves in shock as every pony at the table gave Ember a sorrowful expression. Chris suddenly felt terrible for even bringing it up. Oh, Ember, I'm so sorry to hear that. I didn't mean to bring up painful memories, Chris mourned, giving the bat pony an apologetic expression. Ember chuckled softly before smiling and waving a dismissive hoof in the air. All in the past now, love, but you two are as exotic as they come. A living testament that proves love has no bounds, and it warms my heart to see you two expanding upon that love now, she clarified, looking back at BonBon with an encouraging and sweet smile. BonBon couldn't help but smile back a little, feeling moved by the Pat Pony's words. She never really thought about what the human and Lyra shared quite like that, but she liked the idea of it. It was sweet. Ember sighed softly before looking back at Chris with a cheerful smile. I'm always delighted to see you two in my restaurant, and I must admit, I'm a bit envious of the bond you both share. If only I was lucky enough to be a part of something so pure again. She sighed sadly. Well, Lyra spoke up, tapping her chin with a hoof and thought. We might have room for one more, Lyra suggested, giving Ember a sly smile and a suggestive wink. What? Chris shouted, jerking his head back to look in Lyra's direction, not sure how to react with his girlfriend was implying. Ember giggled, playing coy. She covered her non-existent blush with a hoof. Oh, Miss Harsings, you flatter me with your offer, she cooed. However, you don't want an old mare like me slowing you down. Perhaps if I was a bit young, but a year younger, I would have gladly accepted your offer, she teased with a friendly chuckle as she dropped her hoof down and flicked her tail slightly. But enough of that tonight. It's a special one. I'll be personally savoring you three, so please tell me, have you decided on what we can make for you? She asked, while using both of her forehooves to place the drinks on the table. She gave BonBon her glass of water first, then proceeded to distribute empty scattered glasses around. Yep, Lyra chirped happily. I was going to try that hay and rose petal salad that Dusty suggested earlier. It sounded really nice. A favorite for most of our pony guests, definitely a fine choice, Ember commented. And as for your lovely date, miss? She asked, facing BonBon as she poured the bottle of hard cider into her empty glass first. You can call me BonBon, and I will love some carrot soup. Please, BonBon asked politely with a small smile. A wise choice. We grow our own carrots and only use the best ones we have for our soups, Ember explained with a chuckle as she turned to Chris and began to fill his empty glass with cider. And for the handsome stallion of the group, she cooed sweetly. Chris smiled, but rolled his eyes a little at Ember's comment before answering, well, I was thinking about going with what I normally get, the rabbit with coconut cream sauce, if it's not too much trouble. This caused BonBon to jerk her head towards the human in shock. She looked to see if Lyra had heard the same thing she did, but the unicorn seemed oblivious as always. In fact, she was smiling up at him. But he just ordered rabbit meat. He was about to eat some poor adorable little bunny, and she didn't seem to care at all. What if he came from a world where his kind ate ponies? Ooh, he does? Question mark. We do have horse meat, okay? Oh, it's not trouble at all, my dear, and I must say that is another fine choice. Most of our Griffin patrons tell me that this is one of our best meat dishes, Ember complimented as she filled Lyra's cider glass and proceeded to place the hopeful cider bottle in the center of the table. She bit the tray that she used to carry the drinks in with and placed it under her wing before turning back to the entrance. I will be back shortly with your orders. Do enjoy yourselves, and if you need anything at all, feel free to ask any of my lovely little darlings for assistance, she added before ducking out through the strings of crystal beads, leaving the trio to their romantic evening. Chris turned to Lyra with a bright smile, which she returned. You know, I really like her. She's really nice, Chris praised, smiling brightly. I agree, plus she's pretty hot for an older mare, she added, giving Chris a half-little gaze, bobbing her eyebrows up and down. I'm not even gonna go there, Chris replied sternly. Yeah, big guy, I getcha, Lyra replied with a soft chuckle. Ruin a dismissive hoof at him. She frowned a little when she noticed something funny about BonBon in the corner of her eye. She turned to look at her friend, who was staring at her with a surprised and shocked look. You okay, Bonnie? Did you not hear what your cult friend ordered? BonBon shouted, causing both Chris and Lyra to give her shocked looks of their own. Lyra started to panic a little once she realized that she'd never told BonBon that Chris was a meat eater. She had gotten so used to him eating meat around her that she completely forgotten that other ponies had no clue about Chris's special diet. Oh my gosh, Bonnie, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot to tell you he's an omnivore, Lyra apologized, frantically looking back to Chris with a worried expression, hoping he could help save the situation. Chris was in the same boat as Lyra. He was so used to her being okay with him eating meat that he forgot BonBon didn't know about that side of him. I'm sorry, BonBon. I can go flag Amber down and change my order if that will make you more comfortable. They have really nice salads here that I enjoy, Chris offered quickly. BonBon looked back and forth between both of her dates' worried expressions as the shock of the new information settled in. It seemed that Lyra knew about her cult friend's taste for meat and was fine with it, which was a little reassuring to her. At least it seemed like he didn't eat pony meat, but it didn't make the human any less intimidating. Fuck you. We do eat pony meat once in a while, even though it's not that good. No, that's okay. I'm sorry. That was rude of me. I just didn't know, that's all. She reassured him, looking down slightly. She wasn't really comfortable with the fact that Chris was about to eat a cute little bunny in front of her, but she had to be hospitable. I'm really sorry, Bonnie. I completely forgot that you didn't know. Lyra apologized again. That's fine. Really, I'm fine. BonBon lied, mustering a reassuring smile. She knew that this was just another reason why things wouldn't work out between her and the human. She couldn't be with some pony that ate meat, could she? Get out of your fucking comfort zone. In the end, I know this is not gonna work. This date didn't work. Chris could tell this new turn of events was steering the night in a bad direction. He thought now might be a good time to give BonBon her gifts. He looked over to Lyra as she did the same to him. Their eyes met, and they both nodded to each other. It seemed like Lyra was thinking the same thing he was. They both looked back at BonBon, who was looking down and away from the two. Bonnie, Lyra called out, softly causing BonBon to look up to her. Chris and I, well, we both got you something for tonight, she said, as Chris slid the black box across the table. BonBon's eyes widened as the human's hand began to push the box closer to her. She watched as his creepy, long-looking appendage slowly moved closer and closer to her, making her lean back a little. She started to relax again. Once he stopped pushing the box and pulled his hand away, she looked down at the box that was now in front of her, perking her ears up with a curious expression on her face. Lyra started to smile before encasing the black box in her magic. She using it to unfold the top lip back, revealing her red crumbled up tissue paper and said, "This first gift is from me," Lyra said, as she removed the layer of tissue paper by floating it up into the air, revealing a beautiful blue gemstone necklace that glowed with a soft light underneath it. The necklace itself laid in the center of the package on top of what looked like a second black box within the first one. BonBon's eyes started to widen as a gentle smile spread across her lips. "Oh, Lyra," she paused for a moment to admire the blue glowing gemstone. "You shouldn't have. How did you even afford this?" BonBon asked steadily, knowing full well what the necklace was. She had been wanting jewelry like this for ages, but could never bring herself to buy one since enchanted jewelry was so expensive. "Well, it's actually a normal gemstone necklace that I bought, but I have been practicing my magic, and I was able to learn that little glow enchantment that I know you like so much," Lyra explained, using her magic to lift the jewelry out of the box, levitating it towards BonBon so she could fasten it around her neck. The necklace was easily snapped on with its magnetic clasp in the back, and it was a perfect fit for the Earth Pony. So BonBon looked down at the necklace, smiling brightly as she adored its beauty. "Oh, Lyra, it's lovely. Thank you so much, but aren't enchantment spells difficult?" she asked, looking back to Lyra, knowing full well that it took a lot of dedication and time for ponies to get their magic to a point where they could cast such spells. "She fucking loves you. Accept it." Lyra chuckled lightly before answering her. "Yeah, they're not that difficult. It does take a while to be able to do those kinds of things, but I have been practicing, and now I can enchant any gem you like with that same spell. Easy peasy," she explained happily, flicking her hoof in the air like it was no big deal. "This spell might not last as long as the real ones do, but in a few years' time you can just ask me to recharge it for you," she added with a wink. BonBon beamed brightly at Lyra before looking back down at her new necklace again. "It's really beautiful, Lyra. Thank you," she replied with a grateful tone. She really did love the gift, and it was so sweet of her friend to go out of her way to teach herself that spell just for her. This was such a wonderful gift to receive, and part of her felt like she didn't really deserve it, but there was still one more gift in the box, and honestly she was a little curious about what Lyra's cult friend had got her. Lyra bit her lip slightly, wagging her tail from side to side as her excitement grew. "Yeah, it's pretty cool, but not the best gift you're getting tonight," she teased, causing BonBon to look up from her necklace with a raised eyebrow. I actually got you that blue gem so it would match the gift Chris got you. That way you could word them together," the unicorn admitted happily. Damn. God damn. Ah! Oh, God damn it, water. Gotta be careful now. This caused BonBon to raise a concerning eyebrow. What could he have possibly gotten her that had Lyra so excited? Lyra looked up at Chris, giving him a knowing smile. Chris looked back at her with a more awkward and unsure smile of his own. He didn't seem as confident as his gift as Lyra. Lyra just giggled softly before turning back to BonBon. "You'll see. I just know you're gonna love this," she sang as she used her magic again to open up the second box. BonBon looked down as she watched the top lid slowly fold back. The Earth Pony's eyes started to widen as her mouth slowly fell open. Once she realized what was sitting inside. What? She could barely form words as she gazed upon a beautiful and well-preserved flower that she thought she would never get to see again. There, resting in the box, was an orange fire lily flower, something that BonBon remembered fondly from her childhood when she used to live close to Niagara Falls. What? Niagara. Niagara. It's like Nai, like the horse Nai. Falls. She stammered in shock. Lyra bit her bottom lip, knowing that the gift was registering well with BonBon. She used her magic to gently lift the flower out of the box and slowly drifted it towards the speechless earth pony. BonBon closely watched the floating flower as she slowly held out trembling hooves to catch it. Lyra released her magic, letting the lily land softly in her cradling hooves. BonBon couldn't believe what she was seeing. It was an actual fire lily, and it looked just like she remembered. This special kind of flower was rare in Aquaria because they could only grow in a few hard-to-reach places like the forest she would spend most of her childhood playing and exploring in when she was a more adventurous little filly. There was one small spot in that forest that she loved to visit the most, and it was where these particular flowers thrived, and it was a small, secluded area deep in the forest that only she knew about, and the whole ground that was covered in the same fire lilies that she was now holding in her hooves. It was her little secret spot where she would go when she needed to cheer up or just relax and enjoy herself before it was destroyed once other ponies found it. She would spend hours there, laying in the small cluster of fire lilies that covered the ground, letting their sugary orange aroma fill her senses. She loved their sweet scent the most, and it would always remind her of the delicious candies that she loved trying to make. In fact, if it wasn't for those sweet-smelling flowers, she might have never realized that her special talent was making delicious treats for other ponies. Damn. BonBon held the flower close to her muzzle and took a soft whiff of the flower, letting the sugary sweet fragrance overwhelm her, causing even more nostalgic memories to her. It smelled just like she remembered, just like the forest she spent so much time in. But how? How is she holding this delicate flower in her hooves? How did Lyra's cult friend even get this? Did he even understand the sentimental value that this fire lily held for her? Did Lyra tell him that this was her favorite flower? BonBon slowly tore her gaze away from the flower, and she looked up to Lyra, expecting her to answer some of the many questions that flooded her mind. She expected her to say that she told her girlfriend about this, but the unicorn only smiled and turned to look up at the human. BonBon slowly followed her gaze and locked human eyes with the bipedal stallion. As he looked back at her with a gentle but shy smile that sent a warm and pleasurable shiver down the earth pony's spine. The human started to rub the back of his head with his hand, blushing slightly. Do you, like it? He asked nervously. BonBon nodded her head slowly, not saying a word as she held her stunned gaze on the human, expecting him to start explaining why there was one of the rarest flowers in all of Aquaria resting in her hooves right now. Oh, so he gets to stare. The human cleared his throat a little before giving BonBon the explanation she was obviously wanting. Well, you see, he tried to explain but coughed into his hand a little to try and calm his nerves some more. I talked to Lyra and a few of your friends a while ago because I didn't know what to get you for when we took you on a date. They all had a lot of nice suggestions, but your friend Berry Punch told me about this one flower from when you were growing up that you really liked. And I knew I had to get that for you, but I had no idea where to get it, he explained, looking away slightly as his blush deepened. But I just continued to stare at him as a small smile started to spread across her lips. He'd actually took the time to try and find a gift that she would enjoy, even going out of his way to talk to her closest friends or for ideas. Of course, you idiot. You imbecile, you idiot, you cream-colored idiot of treats. Well, anyways, he continued. I went to talk to Roseluck about the flower, and she told me how rare, expensive, and how to maintain flowers like that were, and I was a little heartbroken when she told me the exact price for one. And that was only if I found a store that sold them. He paused, looking back to BonBon with a warm smile, but she said that if I was really lucky, I could find some out in the wild next to the forest around Niagara Falls. But she said that if I was, yeah. So I scraped some bits together and bought a few train tickets for a couple trips up there. And it took a few trips back and forth, but only one day I finally found one growing deep in the forest. I guess I got pretty lucky that time, he chuckled awkwardly as he started to fidget with his hands a little. I wanted to get you a bunch of them, but I could only find the one. Lyra giggled before adding to Chris's explanation. When he got home, he was so excited that he found that flower, and when I saw it, I knew exactly what it was. Yeah, I even helped him turn it into a nice mane accessory that you can wear, Lyra pointed out. BonBon looked back down at the flower and saw that she was right. There was no stem on it. Instead, there was 3 long prongs that she could easily place in her mane, but it was still a real flower, and it would no doubt die and shrivel up soon, right? I also placed a preservation spell on it that would help it stay like that for years to come. It was a little harder to do than the glowing spell, but Princess Twilight really helped me to get it right, and I put a lot of magic into it, so it should last a long time, Lyra added. BonBon was speechless. She didn't know how to react to all of this, but she could feel her eyes start to water, causing her vision to blur slightly. No pony had ever gone so far out of their way to give her such a beautiful gift, and it was from no, he wasn't just that human, he had a name, and yeah, you don't even say his name half the time, and my damn water bottle cap No, he wasn't just that human. He had a name, and Chris had just given her a lovely gift. The fact that he did so much just to show her that he was actually interested in her becoming part of the herd made her heart skip a beat. Chris was such a caring stallion, and the love he shared with Lyra was so genuine and warm. It felt like she could finally understand what Lyra saw in him, and perhaps she was starting to see something in him as well. She would be lying to herself if she said she wasn't really enjoying this little outing with the two of them, even if she was being a little weird about this day from the start. So maybe she could join them for just one more day after this one. Plus, Chris's new beard was kind of charming. Mama smiled softly as she turned her head and placed the fire lily in her forelock next to her right ear. She looked up and giving Chris a warm, bashful smile. "Thank you, Chris. It's wonderful," she said in a soft and gentle tone as she slowly blinked away her tears. Chris smiled brightly. "You're welcome, BonBon. I'm really happy you like it," he said in a gentle voice. Before he could say more, the wall of crystal beads that led to their private room started to spread open, making him look back to see who was coming in. Dusty could be seen holding the beads apart for Ember. Who was carrying the fruit on the tray that was being balanced on her wings. Lyra looked over to them with an excited smile. "Well, that was fast," she commented in a joyful tone. Ember chuckled as she stood in front of the table while Dusty flew to her side and started to help distribute the dishes accordingly. "Well, let's just say I asked my lovely chefs to take very special care with your dishes tonight," Ember explained. "Good thing too, I'm starving," Lyra stated rather loudly, rubbing her abdomen slightly with her hoof. "Lyra, please don't be rude." "Say thank you," BonBon playfully scowled, feeling more comfortable now. Lyra smiled sheepishly at BonBon. Oh, yeah, sorry, Bonnie," she said before looking back to Ember. "Thanks, Ember," she thanked with an embarrassed smile. BonBon looked to Chris as well, nodding her head slightly as she smiled at him, expecting him to do the same. Chris couldn't help but chuckle under his breath, but he knew what BonBon was asking of him, and he knew he should follow her advice as well. He turned to face Ember, giving her a genuine and grateful smile. "Thank you, Ember. We do appreciate it." "Yes, that was very sweet of you, Ember. Thank you," BonBon added, smiling warmly at the bat pony. "Haha! They understand each other. They're getting close, yes." Ember and Dusty both exchanged a look, raising a questionable eyebrow at each other before smirking and laughing at the trio, finding their banter quite amusing. "Oh, of course, darlings. It's a special night, and I want everything to be perfect for all of you," Ember explained, giving BonBon a bright smile and a wink, which caused her to blush and smile even more. "Whoa, what kind of flower is that?" Dusty asked as she set BonBon's soup down in front of her. BonBon opened her mouth. BonBon opened her mouth to answer, but Ember spoke up before she could. "That young one is a fire lily, I do believe," Ember mused. "It's been ages since I've last laid eyes on one." "It looks lovely on you, dear," she complimented BonBon warmly. BonBon turned to look at Chris, blushing brightly with a gentle smile. It is beautiful," she added before turning back to Ember. "And thank you." "Yeah, that's pretty cool looking," Dusty added as she finished hoofing out every pony's meal, then flew back next to Ember. "You guys have a nice meal, and if you need anything at all, don't hesitate to ask," she added before flying out of the room. Ember flashed the trail a bright, toothy grin, showing off her fangs a little before turning around. "Enjoy your evening, darlings," she added before exiting, leaving the group alone once more. BonBon turned back to her dates and saw them smiling brightly at her, making her smile back. It felt nice to be here with the two of them, enjoying a meal together. She felt warm and sad, almost like she belonged there. BonBon looked down at the carrot soup that was laid out in front of her. It smelled wonderful, and she couldn't wait to dig in, but this was the part she was dreading. She looked up to her napkin, which was laying next to her bowl of soup, and sighed deeply. She reached for the napkin with her hooves, pressing down on one end with her left hoof as she started to paw at the gold ring with her right hoof with little success. The ring just kept spinning around against the smooth fabric. "Oh, horse feathers." BonBon muttered to herself. She might have to use her teeth for this one. At the same time, Chris was about to reach for his own napkin set when he noticed BonBon was having trouble with hers. She was obviously struggling and needed some assistance. "Here, let me help you with that," he called her as he started to lean forward, making his way to help her. BonBon heard what Chris had said, but kept fidgeting with her napkin. "Oh no, that's alright, I got it," she tried to assure him, feeling slightly embarrassed. Keeping her focus on the task in front of her, she didn't notice that Chris was already standing up and leaning towards her. Meanwhile, Lyra was in the middle of undoing her napkin with her magic, but paused to watch what was going on. "Really, it's no trouble," Chris insisted as he reached his left hand to grab BonBon's napkin. "No, it's fine, really, I can." BonBon interrupted herself when she saw Chris's long, spiny digits come into view from the corner of her eyes as he reached out. They are literally They don't do anything. Time seemed to slow down as she looked up at his spiny appendage that was now inching its way closer and closer to her hoof, making her heart pound in her chest. The whole room seemed to go dark, and all she could see was the human's bizarre spidery hand in front of her. Her pupils constricted to sharp pinpricks as the thought of one of his digits touching her hoof flashed through her mind, making the fur of the back of her neck stand on end. "No!" BonBon cried as she threw her right hoof up before bringing it back down, smacking the human's creepy hand away. His hand was sent crashing into her bowl of hot carrot soup, causing Chris to shout out in pain as the bowl tipped over, spilling all of its contents across the table and onto BonBon's lap. "You just ruined your own night, BonBon. Nice job." BonBon yelped in surprise as a hot liquid splashed on her dress and thighs, making her jump back suddenly, knocking over her chair as she quickly retreated from the table until she was a few feet away. But she stood there, feeling panicked and embarrassed as she placed a hoof to her chest, taking several gasps of breath as her mind tried to process everything that had happened. Chris was just trying to help her, but he almost grabbed her with his spidery-looking hand, and she just freaked out, then hit him. BonBon looked up slightly and could see how now tipped over his seat next to the table that Chris was standing over as he cradled his left hand in his right one. He stood there frozen in time with a shocked and horrified expression on his face as he looked back at her. Even Lyra was looking over the table with her hooves over her mouth with the same expression, making the Earth Bunny feel terrible and ashamed for what she had done. BonBon, I'm sorry. Are you okay?" Chris asked in a panic as he stayed frozen in place, cradling his soup-covered hand. "Chris, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. She tried to apologize as she looked up at the tall bipedal stallion that was now towering over the table. Seeing him like that in her panic state caused her to remember how large and intimidating he really was, which led her to realize how out of place she was with him. She didn't belong there. She couldn't be with him like this. BonBon could feel her hoof start to tremble slightly as she started to remember why she could never be with a stallion like Chris. She couldn't let herself get close to somebody like him. He wasn't a real stallion, and he was so different from her. What would other ponies think of her? Or what would her parents think of her as if she told them she was dating the bizarre stallion? Her mother would disown her for sure. Yeah, this is the problem. You people, you ponies, with your overreactions. BonBon darted her eyes back and forth between her days as her thoughts continued to run wild and conflict with each other. Why did Chris have to go and get her a fire lily, a bucking fire lily, one of the rarest flowers in all of her creation? Why couldn't it have been a nice simple orchard or something? She liked orchards, but he didn't. He got her the beautiful, rare, meaningful fire lily. What if Chris was just playing with her emotions, just like every other nice stallion that came trotting along with promises of love and compassion? She was a fool to let him swoon her so easily, but he was so sweet and kind to Lyra, and he sacrificed so much to give her that flower. He must have known what the fire lily truly meant for him to go through all that trouble, which meant he really cared about her. He really did want this herd to work, but he... "Bonnie, are you okay?" Lyra asked, calling out to her in a concerned tone, jerking her out of her thoughts for a moment. I didn't mean to surprise you like that. Please, let me help you," Chris offered in a soft voice as he moved closer to her with a red napkin in his spider-like hand, wanting to clean the spilled soup that was on her dress. No, Chris, please, just stay away." BonBon whimpered softly, not knowing what else to say as she took a small step back, moving away from him. She couldn't just tell him that his hands freaked her out and that she didn't belong there, not after how well the two of them had been treating her. Chris stopped his forward movements, freezing in place at her command, giving her a confused and worried look. "Why? I don't understand. What's wrong? I just..." BonBon stuttered as her mind melted into an even more confusing mess. Why couldn't Chris have just given her a simpler gift that wasn't so sentimental to her? Why did he have to be so kind and caring? Why did he have to treat Lyra so well? And why did she want to be a part of that? Wait, did she really want to be a part of what Lyra and Chris shared? She did. And that realization scared her even more. "Bonnie, what's going on?" Lyra asked in a soft and worried tone, interrupting her thoughts again. BonBon bit her lower lip, turning her head away from the confused pair, trying to hide the tears that were bubbling up in her eyes. She knew she was being vague and confusing, but what could she say? She couldn't really be considering being part of their herd, could she? Oh, God damn it, BonBon, stop conflicting your minds. What if she did start to fall in love with the human, and he ended up living like the last stallion she tried to get close to? Princess Charlotte was still trying to send Chris home, and he would surely leave her and Lyra if he had a way back. A future with him could only lead to a future of heartbreak. BonBon continued to stammer, trying to organize her thoughts. She just couldn't let herself get close to another stallion like him, not when things were this uncertain. He even ate meat. She couldn't be around some pony that ate poor, defenseless bunnies, and he had those strange-looking hands that kept reminding her of creepy spiders. Even if he didn't have those hands, and she let herself fall in love with him, they still wouldn't be able to start a family like she always wanted. This was a mistake. She shouldn't have agreed to this. Lyra, I shouldn't have done this. I can't do this. She finally managed to whimper softly, still not looking at the two. Lyra's eyes started to widen after hearing those words. What? But why? She asked almost in a panic. But Bonnie, please, this was just an accident. We can get you some more soup. The soup wasn't the issue at all. She shouldn't have agreed to this date and strung them both along, but she didn't think Chris would actually care about her. They both cared, and they gave her two wonderful gifts that she didn't deserve. She'd hurt Chris, and no doubt offended Lyra, and she needed to leave now before she continued to lead them on and hurt them even more. BonBon finally managed to look back at her bewildered dates as a tear streamed down her cream-colored cheek. She whimpered softly while trying to hold back her sobs as she took another step back, making her way to the exit. Chris just tackled her and just cuddle the fuck out of her. Even though she'll be freaking out a little bit, but just cuddle the fuck out of her. Just cuddle the fluff out of her. Come on. I'm sorry, both of you. I had a lovely time, she wept softly, but this, I just can't. I can't do this, she finally managed to admit, frowning sadly as she turned around and started to make her way out. BonBon, wait! Chris called out to her, stepping forward as he reached his hand out, causing BonBon to halt for a moment and look back over his shoulder. Please, we can fix this. I'm sorry for what I did, he apologized frantically. Hearing his words only caused more tears to leak down the side of her cheek. Why did he have to be so persistent about this? I'm sorry I hurt you, she apologized in a soft, whimpering whisper before running out of the private room. Bonnie! Lyra shouted as she lit up her horn with magic, casting a teleportation spell that sent her outside of the room in a flash. She looked up and saw BonBon running between the restaurant tables at a fast and frantic pace as every pony in the establishment watched her. Lyra quickly gave chase as BonBon ran straight for the dining room's double door entrance. BonBon stopped in front of the door and flung one side open with her hooves, then quickly entered into the waiting room. Bonnie, please wait! Lyra called to her for a second time as she quickly entered into the same room before the door could close, but BonBon didn't respond. BonBon bolted through the waiting room, making her way up to the main entrance of the Every Free Moon. Pushing the big door up, bursting into the cold winter night, not caring to grab the cloak she came in with, Lyra lit up her horn again, casting the teleportation spell a second time, teleporting herself in front of BonBon's intended path, causing the earth pony to skid to an abrupt halt in the snow. They both stood in the cold snow next to the restaurant's small roaring bonfire for a brief moment as they gazed into each other's eyes. Bonnie, Lyra finally spoke in saddened tone. I thought you were enjoying yourself back there. You looked so happy, but then you just freaked out, she added, pausing for a moment to take in her fan's saddened expression. Please just tell me what's wrong, she pleaded, giving BonBon a worried and a concerned look. BonBon jerked her head away from Lyra, shutting her eyes tightly. Lyra, she whimpered softly. Lyra stepped forward, wanting to comfort her in some way. Bonnie, Chris didn't mean to. Before Lyra could say more, BonBon lunged forward and pressed her lips against Lyra's, catching her completely off guard as she kissed her deeply. What? That was just random. Lyra froze completely as her eyes widened in surprise. Before she could even begin to process what had happened, BonBon broke the kiss and stepped back from her. Please forgive me, Lyra. I can't be a part of what you and Chris share. Lyra started to regain her awareness and furrowed her brow in confusion. But I thought, Lyra stammered softly, not sure what else she could say at this point. Damn it, I'm really mad now. Please, just keep your promise. Never ask me about this again, BonBon begged as a tear ran down her cheek. Lyra stood there in the snow, dumbfounded. She started to panic. Wait, Bonnie! I thought you were... But... BonBon stepped closer to Lyra, giving her a gentle, loving kiss on the cheek. Thank you for a lovely night, and I'm sorry, she whispered softly in a shaky voice. Before galloping past the petrified unicorn, she ran as fast as she could, heading down the cobblestone path she'd come from. Lyra stared blankly in stunned silence at Every Moon's entrance. Lyra stared blankly in stunned silence at the Every Moon's main entrance. She saw the door swing open as Chris ran out to meet her. Lyra! He called out as he ran up to her, coming to a slow stop right in front of her. What happened? Did you catch BonBon? He asked, panting slightly. Lyra sat down on her haunches, pressing her nice silk dress skirt into the cold, wet snow as he looked up to Chris with tears in her eyes. She left, and she wouldn't tell me why. Hearing those words, seeing the sad look in Lyra's eyes made Chris cringe as his heart sank in his chest. They both had run so far ahead of him that he couldn't catch up in time, and he had hoped that Lyra would have stopped BonBon so he can try to talk to her. I'm so sorry, Lyra. I fucked up. This is all my fault, he admitted. Lyra looked down at her forelegs, shutting her eyes as she shook her head slightly It wasn't your fault, she whimpered softly. Chris frowned slightly at her reassuring words. Of course it was his fault. If he hadn't persisted in helping BonBon like that, then maybe they would still be inside laughing it up with her and having a good time, but now it looked like they would never get a chance again. Chris knelt down in front of Lyra, running his hand through the top of her mane, pushing her hair out of her eyes as he petted her tenderly. Did she say anything to you before she left? He asked, fearing the answer. Lyra nodded her head up and down slightly. She just said that she doesn't want to be a part of what we share, Lyra whimpered in a creaky voice, causing Chris's stomach to feel like it was being twisted into a knot. He really fucked up. I just can't understand why, she continued. Chris knew exactly why she had run. It was because of what he had done and maybe even what he was, but Lyra wouldn't want to hear him blame himself again, even if it was the truth. She was enjoying herself. You saw it too, didn't you? Lyra asked, jerking her head up to look at Chris again. She looked so happy back there. I saw it in her eyes, she added, suddenly raising her voice as a tear trailed down her beautiful mint green cheek. Chris looked into her tearful eyes and nodded his head in agreement. It was true that he did see that BonBon was actually enjoying herself, and it really felt like he was starting to connect with her, but the way she bolted out like that had taken him up by surprise. Yeah, I haven't seen her smile like that in so long, Lyra whimpered in a soft whisper while Chris placed his hand on her cheek. He slowly rubbed away her tear with his thumb before it could freeze and mat her fur. She placed a chilled hoof on top of the arm that was rubbing her cheek. As she closed her eyes and leaned into his hand, Chris sighed deeply before leaning down. Come on, let's get you home, he said softly, scooping her up into his arms as he lifted her up. Holding her close to his body, Lyra quickly wrapped her cold forelegs around the back of Chris's neck, laying her head on his right shoulder. She nuzzled his fuzzy cheeks as she whimpered softly to herself, letting her body go limp in his arms. He was about to turn back to the Every Moon to get their coats and pay for everything they had ordered, but was interrupted by somebody calling out to them. Are you two okay? Chris turned and saw Ember gliding towards them for the Every Moon's entrance. She was holding what looked like his coat and both Lyra and BonBon's cloaks over her right foreleg. I just heard what happened. Is everything alright? There was a note of deep concern in her voice as she landed in front of them. Chris shook his head slightly before reaching into his pants pocket with his left hand, still holding Lyra up with his right. He pulled out a small pouch with the bits they had saved for the day and handed it to Ember. The older Batmare squinted her eyes slightly, looking at the offering. What is this? She questioned, looking back up at Chris. Chris sighed, thinking she didn't know what he was giving her. Payment for the food and the mess, he explained, giving the bag a little shake so she could hear the bits inside. Ember scowled at him and shook her head, refusing his offer. Now! I won't have any of that. From the looks of it, your night with your beautiful date was completely ruined, and in my restaurant, no less. But it wasn't your fault. You guys were amazing, and everybody here treated us so well. At least take it as a tip, Chris kind of agreed. I just can't do that, dear. Not after what happened, Ember retorted. Keep your bits. I don't want anything to do with them, she added in a friendly tone, giving Chris a genuine smile. Chris sat in defeat, putting the pouch back into his pocket. Thank you, Ember. Lyra turned around in Chris's arms a little so she could look back in Ember's direction. You're a wonderful mare, Ember. Thank you, she added softly. Of course, dears. Now take your coat and cloaks. I don't want you two catching colds on the way home, she added in a more somber tone, holding Chris the pile of winter clothing that was draped over her right foreleg. Chris extended his left arm, keeping Lyra held up with his right as Ember draped the fabric over his forearm. I believe your date's cloak is in there as well, Ember pointed out with a soft smile. Chris pulled his arms back, pinning it under Lyra again to hold her up before nodding. It is, and I'm sorry about the mess, he apologized before turning around and making his way down the cobblestone path to the home. Ooh, be safe, dears, and come back soon, Ember cheered with a small wave of her hoof. Have a good night, Ember, and thank you for everything, Chris called back as Lyra waved back to her from his shoulder. They both walked off into the cold winter night, not stopping to put their protective clothing on. Chris didn't need it with Lyra so close to him. She was helping to keep him warm, and he was sure she was helping to keep him warm, and he was sure he was doing the same for her. Chris couldn't stop thinking about what they were going to do next. He didn't want to give up on BonBon, and was sure Lyra felt the same, but what could they do? The end! Damn. That is literally... I'm gonna stop reading the author's notes, because plus, man, like, I know this is your first freaking thing, but goddamn, you literally make paragraphs out of these author notes, and there's a YouTube video? Never give up! Damn. Anyways, guys, thank y'all for watching, listening to what you guys do, and I'll see you guys in the next the next one. Goodbye. Hey guys, it's Ch.5. Welcome back to Date Night Part 3, which the date's over. I'm not sure why it's called Part 3 or Date Night Part 3, but BonBon, do you hate spiders? Is that why? Because it reminds you of spiders? Is that a problem? It's probably a problem, isn't it? That's probably is. Also, we're gonna be in BonBon's perspective because it's obviously her returning home because Chris and Lyra are just going home. Anyways, guys, let's hop right into it. Date night, part 3, returning home. BonBon got up as fast as she could, heading straight for home. She just wanted to curl up in her nice warm bed and try to forget everything that happened. Why? Why did you have to go and do something like that? Why did you hit him like that? BonBon mentally shouted to herself as she pressed on through the night, ignoring the biting cold on her cheeks. Stupid BonBon. Stupid, stupid, stupid. At least you're self-aware. She was only a few feet away from the front door when her back leg caught on the hem of her dress. She fell flat on her side, hitting the ground hard, but ignored the pain. She quickly picked herself up and flung the door open before stumbling inside, making it only 2 more feet. She tripped over her own 4 hooves, falling again, the face first onto her hard living room floor. The source of the impact made her curly mane unravel slightly, causing her little fire lily to fall out of her hair and land several inches away from her. She kept her eyes shut as she whimpered softly to herself on the cold wooden floor, wallowing in her own self-pity. BonBon clenched her eyes shut as tears streamed down her cheeks. "You're such a bad pony," she softly scolded herself, whimpering as she wrapped her forelegs on top of her. "You should have never agreed to that date. You just made everything worse." The night wasn't supposed to end like that, like it had. She was just supposed to humor her friend to one date, then to kindly turn them down. Chris wasn't supposed to go as far out of his way to show her that he actually cared. She honestly thought he would be against the hurt idea just as much as she was. But he wasn't at all. He even tried to get her to talk and help her enjoy the night, but she just tried to drop every conversation that he had started like some kind of horrible, rude, meanie pony. They both treated her so well and sacrificed so much to make the night special for her, and what did she do to show her gratitude? She smacked Chris away when he was just trying to help and broke both their hearts. Yeah, but they're not gonna give up on you, though. They're not giving up. They're not gonna give up on you. This is why it's part 3. It's a short chapter. BonBon continued to whimper and moan quietly to herself on the floor, sniffling a little when her senses were suddenly hit with an pungent aroma of sweet, sugary oranges, causing her to slowly open her eyes. Her blurry vision fell upon the beautiful fire lily that Chris had given her, causing her to stifle whimpering for a moment. As she paused and took in its nostalgic beauty, a soft smile started to appear across her lips as she remembered Chris's words. "I knew I had to get that for you." She wrapped her hooves around the flower, bringing it closer towards her muzzle, taking a slow, deep breath through her nose. She let its sweet fragrance transport her back to the forest where she used to run and explore in. It was a simpler time back then, a time when her life wasn't such a confusing mess and she didn't have to deal with her problems or stressful candy shop expansion issues. BonBon wished she could go back there one day, back to her little secret spot deep in that forest. She could use a secluded place like that to escape to right now, but she knew she couldn't go back even if she wanted. That area of the forest is no longer there. Eventually, other ponies had found her a small patch of flowers and harvested them. She spent months looking for a similar spot, but could never find another group of fire lilies like that ever again. BonBon groaned to herself, remembering that painful day where she was younger. Thanks to Chris's gift, she could now relive those days, if only in her memory. She clenched the flower a little tighter as she started to realize exactly how much Chris wanted her to be happy. Maybe all that stuff about her parents not liking Chris and not having a foal didn't matter. What if Lyra was right? What if Chris really could make her happy? She knew she would be happy with Lyra, but maybe Chris could do the same for her. Maybe she made a mistake. No, she didn't. She could be with them. She just couldn't. Wait, what? No, she didn't. She couldn't be with them. She just couldn't. He ate meat like some kind of savage griffin, and her parents would surely disown her once they found out, though, she was with a human. She would have to give up her dreams of raising a family as well. Even if Candace's spell worked, Chris wouldn't want a foal that wasn't a human like him, and he certainly wouldn't want to raise a foal with somebody like her. And that's when you're wrong. Honestly, if I was in this world, yeah, I would love to have a little pony kid. Best way to say it, I don't know. Plus she couldn't let herself fall in love with another stallion that would just leave her in the end. Chris's presence in this world was no doubt a temporary one, and she learned her lesson the hard way about getting involved with stallions like him. Twilight would eventually find a way back to his real world home, and he would leave as soon as he had the option. Lyra must not be aware of this herself, but Chris would eventually leave them both, just like the first stallion she let her into her heart all those years ago. Your past doesn't go with your present. which really bothers me about you, BonBon. You think that they're all going to be the same? No, they're not all going to be the same. Especially when one's literally a different creature. BonBon would never forget that hurtful day when she realized how she had been used by the Pegasus Stallion. She thought loved her. She didn't think Chris could possibly be as cruel as him, but the fact she still remained, Chris would go back to his own world where he belonged once he had the option, and she couldn't go through something like that. Not to mention, she attacked Chris like some horrible rabid pony monster, and that's what you think of him. So, you know, he doesn't. Oh my God, BonBon. He must hate her now. Lyra might hate her now too. She hoped that she didn't destroy her friendship with the only pony she ever truly cared about other than herself. She could understand if Lyra never wanted to speak to her again, but knew Lyra wouldn't really do that. She was a determined mare, and she would no doubt be here tomorrow wanting an explanation, but what could she say? She just hoped that Lyra would keep the promise to her and never ask her out again. It was just better for every pony this way. BonBon laid on her side, feeling exhausted from her frantic galloping. She could curled up into a ball on her hardwood floor, cradling the firefly in her hooves. As she softly wept to herself, she hardly noticed the cold breeze blowing through her open door. As she slowly fell into the dreamscape, while thoughts of how the whole night played out drifted through her mind. "I'm so sorry, Chris," BonBon whispered to herself before the darkness finally took her. Alright, I'm gonna add this chapter into the part 2 and part 3. So anyways, guys, thank you all for watching and listening to what you guys do, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. What's gonna be talking about?
How when you kiss another human being, you're technically making one long tunnel from butthole to butthole.
Butthole.